Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at a really rich set of source materials you sent over these narrative excerpts, and we're going to try and distill the core insights.
Yeah, it's quite a story. We're unpacking architecture, this huge, almost untouched fortune, and some pretty profound life lessons.
All centered around one family, well, kind of one family, and this incredible neglected house.
Exactly. It's this fascinating intersection, extreme wealth, but also isolation legacy. And it all swirls around this single San Francisco property.
So the main figures are an attorney, Sarah Anderson, and her client, Stanley Perlman. He's almost 100.
Right. And the setup, the hook here is just, well, it grabs you.
It really does. You had this guy, Stanley, who built this massive fortune, kept growing it, even in his late 90s.
Unbelievable wealth.
But, and this is the core of it, for 76 years he lived in the servant's attic of his own 30,000 square foot mansion. Never really used the main house.
Never. That's the puzzle, isn't it? He was sharp, a business genius, reading the financial papers daily.
Buying oil wells at 98.
Yeah. But living in this tiny, Spartan, musty maid's room since 1930, choosing the attic over the palace, basically.
So the big question we're starting with is, what was that about? What does that tell us about wealth and life and what he ultimately left behind? Let's dig into Stanley first. Okay, segment 1. Stanley Perlman. He arrived in San Francisco back in 1924, just 16 years old.
A classic self-made man story, in a way. Built everything himself.
And Sarah, his attorney, for years she found him challenging and entertaining. But even when he was bedridden for the last 7 years, his mind was incredibly sharp, still totally focused on his finances.
And the details of his living situation are just so telling. That attic room he moved into in 1930, hospital bed, chest of drawers, a broken chair. That's it.
And get this, he'd scold his nurses if they turned up the heat.
Right. He'd say he didn't want them being careless with his money. He'd rather just use another blanket.
When you're worth hundreds of millions, that's not thrift anymore, is it? It feels like something deeper. A blockage, maybe?
I think it has to be. The sources are clear. His one mission in life was making money. He achieved it beyond anyone's wildest dreams, but he couldn't seem to, enjoy it. Couldn't let himself live the life it afforded.
And the sources mention his one big regret.
Yeah, not having children. Apparently he'd lost relationships because work always came first. Never committed.
That regret really echoes through the whole narrative, doesn't it? Especially when you see what happens after he dies, just shy of 99.
Absolutely. He leaves this enormous estate, but it's divided among 19 relatives.
Most of whom
he'd never met or even written to. Just names on a list, basically.
I mean, they each get, what was the estimate?
$7 or $8 million each, just like that. Their lives completely changed forever by a man they never knew. He essentially gifted them the kind of life options he never gave himself.
Okay, let's talk about the house itself, the Scott Street mansion. Because Stanley saw it as just an investment, something he kept out of, laziness.
Yeah, that's how we put it. But for Sarah, and for us looking at this story, the house is everything. It's the symbol where her own transformation really kicks off.
So Sarah finally gets a full tour after Stanley passes, with the realtor, Marjorie, and the descriptions. It's like stepping back in time.
It is. Built in 1923 by this French banker, Alexandre de Beaumont, for his wife, Lily. Huge place. White marble steps, gorgeous molded panels, antique woodwork, like a little European chateau dropped into San Francisco.
The real showstopper?
Oh, the ballroom. Has to be the ballroom.
An exact replica, the source says, of the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles.
Can you imagine? Just sitting there. Dark, empty, unused for over 70 years. One of the most famously opulent rooms in history, just gathering dust.
It's mind-blowing. The original owners took all the furniture when they left in the crash, and Stanley never bothered replacing any of it.
Just locked it away in his mind, apparently.
And Sarah has this realization, right, that the house is the symbol of everything he had owned but never really had. It wasn't just empty, it represented an empty life in a way.
Exactly. And that emptiness connects to the house's own sad history, which, ironically, Stanley knew nothing about.
The original owners?
Alexandre de Beaumont. Lost his fortune in the 29 crash. His wife, Lily, this famous beauty, left him right around 1930.
Which is exactly when Stanley moved into the attic. Wow.
Yeah. Alexandra apparently died of grief later. So the house already held this weight of loss, lost money, lost love. It's like Stanley inherited the avoidance pattern along with the deed. And that pattern is about to intersect with Sarah's life in a big way.
Which brings us to Sarah Anderson, 38, 39 years old, super smart, Stanford Law, Harvard undergrad, very, very dedicated to her work.
Maybe too dedicated. Like Stanley, she'd poured everything into her career and her personal life. Well, it reflected that.
Yeah, this relationship she was in, 4 years with Phil, a labor attorney.
And the description of it is telling. They had this sort of unspoken deal, right? Keep it simple and easy.
Which really meant Phil prioritized everything else, the gym, his work, his kids from his first marriage. He's pretty inflexible.
And Sarah just accepted it, took the crumbs, as the source puts it.
She told herself she was just too involved in her work for anything more demanding.
She was basically living in her own emotional attic, mirroring Stanley's isolation, just in a different way.
But then Stanley's death happens. It's sudden, even at his age. And it acts like a shock to her system.
A huge one. She calls Phil looking for comfort, right? And his response.
Oh, it's cold. He just says 99 years is a hell of a good run.
Zero empathy. Just completely tone deaf.
And that's the moment, isn't it? The moment she sees the relationship for what it is, utterly empty.
Yeah. And then, not long after, she actually catches him cheating with a spectacular blonde, apparently.
So Stanley's death, Phil's callousness, the cheating, it all forces her to look at her own life. Am I going down the same path? Am I going to end up alone like Stanley?
But the real catalyst for change isn't actually Phil's betrayal. It's Stanley again.
Ah, the letter, the one read after the will.
Exactly. A personal letter to Sarah. He calls her the closest thing he ever had to a granddaughter. And he basically pleads with her not to make his mistakes.
He says what? Don't let it be your life as it was for me. Something like that.
Precisely. I want you to go out and have a life now. You've earned it. And then he leaves her money.
$750,000.
Yeah. Apparently he thought $1 million might make her nervous, which is oddly perceptive.
But it's not just the money, is it? It's the permission, the push.
Absolutely. It's seed capital, both financial and emotional, giving her the options, the opportunity, and frankly, the instruction to change her life, to break out of that attic.
And she does it immediately. Takes Stanley's advice straight to heart.
She really does. Her first big move, she decides to buy the Scott Street house herself.
From the 19 heirs. For how much?
A remarkably low price, the text says, $2 million, plus obviously the huge cost of restoration.
Yeah.
She uses the money Stanley left her.
And the restoration project itself becomes her new focus, her new addiction, she calls it.
But a positive addiction this time,
Right.
right? Creating something beautiful, bringing something back to life, instead of just working herself into the ground.
And this is where Jeff Parker comes in, the architect she hires.
Right, Jeff. He's around 44, described as kind, thoughtful, and he's also going through his own relationship mess, separating from a difficult French partner, Marie-Louise, after 14 years.
So they bond over that, their past relationships.
Yeah, they connect over their shared histories of settling. Jeff's years of fighting and habit, Sarah's 4 years of accepting crumbs, and Jeff gives her some really clear-eyed advice about Phil.
What does he say?
Basically, that Phil's never going to change. He tells her straight up, he will never spend more time with you. Just lays it out there.
Tough advice, but probably what she needed to hear.
Seems like it. And Jeff also encourages her to take care of herself, to take a break.
Which leads to the trip to France, her first real vacation, solo.
She goes to trace the house's original owner, Lily de Beaumont. Ends up in the Dordogne region.
And she meets this older man, Pierre.
Whose grandmother used to work for the de Beaumont family back in the day. And this grandmother has the key to the whole family mystery.
This is the big reveal, isn't it?
It's huge. Pierre's grandmother confirms that Lily, the beautiful wife who supposedly vanished or died, hadn't died at all back then. She tried to stay in touch with her children in San Francisco.
She wrote letters.
Yes, but Alexandre, her devastated husband back in SF, couldn't handle it. He ordered the letters returned, unopened, and eventually destroyed. The kids were told their mother had vanished, effectively died to them.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
It is, but then comes the real shocker for Sarah.
Go on.
Lily de Beaumont was Sarah's own great-grandmother.
Wait, what? Her great-grandmother?
Yes. The woman whose departure from that house in 1930 coincided with Stanley moving into the attic was Sarah's ancestor.
Okay, hold on. The irony is staggering. Stanley, who regretted having no kids, leaves his fortune through Sarah, essentially to the descendant of the woman whose heartbreak was tied to the very house where he isolated himself for decades.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? The house was pulling her back to her own hidden family history all along. It's like destiny almost.
Wow. So the house goes from being this symbol of loneliness and regret
to the absolute center of generational healing. It gets even better. Sarah's grandmother, Mimi, who is Lily's daughter, the one who thought her mother vanished, visits the restored house.
And what happens?
She's completely overcome. She stands on the landing and remembers seeing her mother, Lily, coming down that grand staircase when she was a little girl, a memory she thought was lost.
Oh my goodness.
And then, not long after that, Mimi gets married to her partner, George.
Where? Don't tell me.
In the ballroom, the replica hall of mirrors, finally filled with life, music, and celebration after all those decades. Full circle.
So with all this happening in the house, the family history, Sarah's life transforms pretty rapidly, right? Her relationship with Jeff.
Yeah, it moves quickly once they're both free of their old baggage. They start dating seriously. Jeff moves in, uses one of the many, many rooms for his drafting table. They're building this life together, grounded in creativity and mutual support.
A real partnership.
Definitely. But then comes, arguably, the biggest test for Sarah.
Ah. Right. She had always been very clear.
Very clear. That she didn't want children, said it was too scary, mostly connected to fears stemming from her father's alcoholism, a deep-seated thing for her.
And then?
She discovers she's pregnant, conceived, poetically enough, on the night of her grandmother Mimi's wedding in the ballroom.
Oh, wow. So this throws her into a tailspin.
A massive crisis.
Yeah.
Her immediate fear is that it's going to ruin our life. All that old fear comes rushing back.
This is the moment, then. Does she stick with the old pattern of avoidance and fear, the pattern she inherited? Or does she embrace the life Stanley basically willed her to find?
And Jeff's reaction here is just perfect. It defines their relationship.
What does he do?
He's completely loving, completely supportive, doesn't pressure her at all. He says, I love you. I'd love to have our baby, but I love you. If you really don't want a kid, I can live with that. It's up to you.
He gives her the choice. Total opposite of Phil's rigid demands.
Exactly. Unconditional support. Agency. Love.
So what does she decide?
It takes her time. Nearly 3 weeks, the source says. A real struggle. But in the end, she chooses the baby. She chooses life. Chooses to believe that love and family don't have to mean repeating past trauma.
And the final scene, fittingly, takes place in the house.
Of course, the birth happens suddenly at home. Her son, William, is born right there in the Scott Street mansion.
The house that was once a monument to loneliness.
Is now literally overflowing with new life. The family Stanley never had. Sarah and Jeff eventually get married. They keep restoring the house together.
And Sarah realizes Stanley's final words, his gift, it wasn't just about the money, it helped her do it right.
Yeah. It led her to the house, which led her to her history, which led her to Jeff, and ultimately to William, and even brought her mother happiness through Mimi's wedding. It all came together there. What an incredible arc when you lay it all out. You see how Stanley's regret and his money became the catalyst Sarah needed. It gave her the financial means, sure, but also that emotional push.
Right, the urgency to leave that stagnant life behind and actually go build something meaningful.
And she did. Stanley hoarded his wealth and his life up in that attic. But Sarah, she took that capital and used it exactly as it should be used.
As a tool.
As a tool for options, for opportunity. She traded her addiction to work for an addiction to creation, connection, love. She really got what Stanley tragically never did.
That line from his letter sums it up, doesn't it? It's only money.
It's only money. Its value is in what it allows you to do, to become, to build.
Yeah.
Not in just having it pile up in the dark. Sarah turned that neglected palace into a home filled with life. She broke the cycle.
So we've seen Stanley's success masking this huge personal failure, and Sarah using his legacy, his warning really, to choose a different path entirely. Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener.
Yeah, something to reflect on. We all have areas of potential in our lives, maybe things we possess but don't fully utilize. So the question is, what's your untouched ballroom? What space of possibility, joy, or creativity do you own, but maybe haven't quite moved into or started furnishing yet?